Would you like to know how a private investigator proves a person is doing something wrong with surveillance video? If you said yes, then this video is for you. Welcome to the PI Guy, tips, tricks, and advice for professional private investigators just like you. My name is John Morris. I'm a licensed professional private investigator in Colorado. Do you know what one of the biggest challenges for a surveillance investigator is? Well, in just a moment, I will let you in on that secret. One of my viewers here on the PI Guy channel, Laura Ayuba, asked me in regards to surveillance video, if they are wearing a face mask, will it make things harder to prove? Great question indeed, Laura, and I have been asked this quite a bit since the inception of face masks into our everyday lives. First, we should ask the big question. How do we even identify our subject if they wear a face mask all of the time? This can be quite challenging in and of itself, to be sure. When your subject wears a face mask, it is difficult many times to know for sure if it is your subject. But even without face masks, it can be difficult to ID a subject. How many times have you had a subject leave the residence you are working on, then you start the follow, get the video, only to find out the person you were following and videotaping was not your subject, rather it was a sibling or another relative? I have to admit it, folks, this has happened to me a time or two in the past. Twins are the hardest for sure, but even just regular sisters or brothers or cousins for that matter, many times can look very similar. Sometimes it isn't even a relative, just someone who looks very similar to your subject that can fool you. We had a workers' comp case one time where the subject lived with her sister who was just a year older, and they lived with their mother. Mom was like in her 40s and the sisters were in their late 20s. I first followed Mom to the grocery store and got tons of video, only to find out from the client that this was not our subject. She drove a car registered to the subject and her parents, and this was the days before social media, so there was no easy way for me to know. On round 2, I followed a second female for hours, found out where she worked, and got tons of video again. Man, was I ever excited to let the client know, only to find out this was not the subject of my investigation. Then finally, on the third round, I observed my subject active, got my video, and you know what? Yep, she was working too. Now, what is the big lesson to be learned here, folks? Always ask the client for a photo. Even if it is a copy of an old ID, it is better than nothing. But I can also say, even if I had a photo as similar as the 3 looked, I may have made the same mistake. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a mistake, really. It was more like intelligence gathering. When you don't know who you're looking for exactly, well, you need to get what video you can of the people you see and ask the client to help you sort it all out. But what about the mask question? I know, I get sidetracked at times. If they are wearing a face mask, will it make things harder to prove? The first thing you need to do, mask or no mask, is make sure you can verify by other means of identification. Did they come out of the provided residence? And are there other indicators such as database reports, driver's license information, insurance, or doctor's forms filled with the same address? And vehicles. Is the subject that is being surveilled driving a vehicle registered to the subject of the investigation? Driving a registered vehicle combined with being registered at the address is usually a huge identifier, folks. Especially if there are no other potential individuals coming up in your database searches that it could be. So if you're working a case where the subject is a white female, 35 years old, and her registered vehicle is parked in the driveway and there are no other female subjects showing currently at the residence, well, then there is a good chance the one you see is your subject. But that does not give absolute proof, does it? Well, not exactly. It could be a friend or a relative visiting or a neighbor borrowing the car or any other explainable things. You need to even more so now make sure you get a good face shot if at all possible. If you can get characteristics such as eyes, ears, hair, this is great. And get other identifying body marks such as tattoos or jewelry, logos on shirts. So much can be told by looking at the eyes and the hair. The eyes have very distinct characteristics, and many people do their hair the same with the same part and distance to the ears and other things. As well, the type of mask they wear can help identify them. This is most useful today if your subject is wearing a designer mask. That makes finding them in a crowd a lot easier, and they may wear the same mask to the doctor's office or to a hearing even. But is it enough proof is the question. Well, here is a big secret most private investigators do not know. When it comes down to it, folks, your surveillance video means absolutely nothing. You heard me right. Your surveillance video means absolutely nothing. And the next big secret that most PIs do not know, your report, yep, that report you spent countless hours on writing, making sure every picture is in the right place, all of the grammar is correct, no misspelled words, well, it means absolutely nothing to. Now to clarify that, your report, no matter how good it is, and your video, no matter how much evidence you have in it, is of no value without your testimony, folks. The other side must be able to cross-examine and question you, the PI. If you are not able to be present to be questioned, then most likely your report and your video that you spent all of those hours perfecting will not be allowed as evidence. But wait, that is not the biggest secret. Hang on, it gets even better. You see, if you cannot be questioned, then all of the evidence your investigation provided is just hearsay at best. And in most cases, even if it got into the courtroom, the judge would instruct the jury or whomever is making the decision in the matter to not consider it. But the one big secret most private investigators do not know or often forget is the fact that it is not their job to prove anything. That is right. As a professional private investigator, your job is not to prove guilt or innocence, folks. Our job as professional investigators is to report on the evidence and findings as they are presented during the course of our investigation. And this goes for any case we are working: workers' comp, infidelity, child custody, and even criminal defense. That is right. When I work a criminal defense case, my job is not to get a walk, to get my guy off at any cost. My job is to present the evidence as I find it during the course of my investigation. Now, that doesn't mean that I do not look for certain things that will help my client's case. Obviously, I will do that. But it is not our job to prove anything. Proof is the burden of the attorney or the insurance company or whomever is representing either party in the matter. This is something we all have to keep in mind. So many times I have gotten in a rut or felt like I was in a rut because I might have gone 3, 6, or even 10 cases and never got the money shot. But then I have to remind myself, that is not my job. My job is to get the video, discover new witnesses, find additional evidence when it is possible in my investigation. But when there are no video opportunities, or the only ones show my subject doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing, or the subject is not able to be identified due to any number of factors, well, proving who it is not my job. And if my client tells me it is my job, well, then I have to free up some of my investigative time for other clients with more reasonable expectations. Hey, here are 2 more videos that I made just for you. And remember, folks, remember, stay safe out there.